So I'd like you to try this warm-up. Go ahead, hit pause, write these problems down, and try them on your own. The next slide is going to be the answers, so hit pause and try them. All right, so what we've got here are the answers and the steps on how we found the answers. If you notice, the first step we took out that square root of -1 became I. 98, we broke that apart to square root of 49 and the square root of 2. Square root of 49 became 7. 7I root 2. And notice the position. I is between the real number and the radical. Same process over here. So check your answers. Here we're going to divide 75 divided by 4 and see what our remainder is, and we're going to count that. Remember, I won with negatives in the middle. You want to use that to find to simplify this I to the 75th power. Here we want to always, if it's something squared, we want to write it out 2 times. When we write it out 2 times, we see that -3 and -3 become +9, and I squared really is -1. So we multiply that and get -9. When we're adding complex numbers, we add the real parts, 6 and 3, and we add the imaginary parts. In this case, we add a negative, so we're subtracting. And we want to put it in standard form with the real part first and the imaginary part second. And the last one, you want to distribute that to first. So order of operations, do multiply before you do add or subtract. And the same process. All right, so if you have any questions on that, write those down. So our lesson today is going to be on multiplying complex numbers. First, we're going to look at using a scalar. So here we just have distributive property like we've always done. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3x would be 9x. When we're multiplying complex numbers, it's the same exact thing with distributive property in the same fashion. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 3i is plus 9i. And this would be standard form, the real part first and the imaginary part second. So that's multiplying with a scalar. What if we're multiplying by a complex number? So here we have I distributed. I times 4 gives us 4i. I times 3i, now we have 2 i's multiplied together, so we have 3i squared. Well, we know that I squared is -1. So this 4i stays the way it is, and the 3 is really being multiplied to a -1. So we want to put this in standard form. So this becomes a -3, and this part, the real part, comes first, and the imaginary part comes second. So this is written in standard form. All right, so that's a good example to have written in your notes. If you don't have it written down yet, you can pause and write it down. All right, next example. We're going to use FOIL. Hold on one second. Okay, that's better. A little less confusing. Okay, so what we're doing here is just distributive property. We're multiplying 2 minus I times 4, right? And we're multiplying 2 minus I times 3i. We're really just distributing this first whole binomial to each of these. Now, some people consider FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. That's fine as well. But you're really just using distributive property with a binomial. So we multiply both pieces together. Here we're going to multiply 4 here and there. Here we're multiplying 3i there and there. And we should end up with this. 8 minus 4i plus 6i minus 3i squared. But what do we see? When we see I squared, we're like, oh, wait, alarms go off. I squared is really -1. So this -3 becomes a +3. This +3 can add to the 8. Right, so there's our -1. +3 adds to the 8. These simplify to 2. We want to write it in standard form. So this would be multiplying 2 binomials that are complex. 2 complex numbers, sorry. Multiplying 2 complex numbers. All right, let's try some practice. All right, I would like you to try a couple. Try 1 and 2, and we'll see if you can get the answer. So go ahead, write down 1 and 2. multiply them in. Make sure they're in standard form. And let's check out the answer. For that first one, you should get -1 plus I. I don't know if I gave you enough time. All right, well, I'm gonna have you, how about, go ahead and hit pause. Write these down, try them, and then I will show the answer. So you need to hit pause because I'm not gonna wait for you to get them all done. Okay, hit pause. All right, so your answers should be these. If you have any questions or if you didn't get those answers, you need to write your question down. Put a star by it, put a question mark, and circle it so that tomorrow in class you can check in with Mr. Roschke and get those questions answered. Okay, in class you're going to be working on some practice problems and kind of doing your homework. So here are some more practice. I'm pretty sure this is the worksheet you're going to be getting in class tomorrow. But if you want to get a head start, you can start working on some of these. All right, thanks for watching.